sound good? Cool. I affirm part 1 is framing. Ethics is divided between ideal and non-ideal theory. Ideal theory asks for justice demands in a perfect world, while non-ideal theory asks for justice demands in a world that's already unjust. Before non-ideal theory is a starting point. First is that ideal theory fails to have actually an unjust world. Mills of Fibers concludes ideal theory enables you to what to say when an unjust society is unjust. It's not telling you what to do if you want to find yourself in an unjust society. What to correct it. Ideal theory represents an on-the-table target that requires to start over. It is a no practical worth. What is required is non-ideal theory that starts from the reality and seeks some means of correcting. Second side, ideal theory shifts its particularities and isolates the universal feature of agents. This normalizes a single experience and epistemologically use ethical theory. Bills of Fibers. Heroes takes well and puts in an intellectual realm. Framing sections that reflect an experience of privileged truth will obscure crucial realities. We abstract away from impression the age-become featureless. Non-ideal theory reckons that people will be affected by social location, and non-ideal theory then states consequentialism. Instead of following style rules that assume an already equal playing field, we take steps to correct material injustice. Thus, the world balance over the absence. That's minimize oppression. Prefer the standard for stat. Anything else is just intellectual gymnastics to avoid talking about oppression, excluding oppressive behavior. Smith 13 writes the exclusionary atmosphere debates towards lessons from participating governors attempt to win by rushing to abstractions to distant from to around that like we do with every day. Community knows how to have competitors to intellectual gymnastics to take hard conversations, but the only strategy is when they acknowledge the reality of the press and then find strategies to deal with the issues. So it's not loading an environment with short pencil. Second is that means-based theories collapse back into consequentialism in order to explain necessary enablers. Student Armstrong 92 writes Deontologists claim that if I mow the grass, there's more reason for you to mow the grass. Starting more would not enable me to. It would not follow that I have more reason to start the mower since I not promised to start my mower. A deontologist there's a moral there's more reason to do whatever is necessary. This principle is very difficult. If breaking my promises is necessary and giving virtuability to the promises, then give up the deontology to be moral theorizing starts with material violence. No one would ever complain or ever think of a moral system unless they didn't like the current situation, which by definition means they must have no material harms afflicted upon them, or they wouldn't care enough to start thinking why it was bad that it was occurring. Part 2 is the advocacy. Plain text resolve public colleges, universities, the United States ought not restrict constitutionally protected speech that criticizes military's policies. Part 3 is offense. Patriotic practice on campus runs rampant. State is equated with treason, and lines of critical thought are silence. Education is quantified in the military industrial complex, reducing the roles of teachers to mere technicians. Members of the college campus are routinely fired if they criticize military, causing a chilling effect in such discussions. Multiple empirical examples through Wilson 15 writes efforts to science faculty students can make others more likely to speak openly. Not only change academic freedom, and library system here is suspending outstanding email criticizing American policies in Iraq. Anti-military abuse put a professor's job at risk. Professor Cursing said that Air Force can now refuse. They used to think I would support you in your killing tracks of collateral damage. Cursing would be suspended and undergo a post-tenure review. Another tenure professor is suspended for saying that killing is wrong, while conservatives tended that few pieces of censorship prove that left-wing thoughtfully ruled over college campuses. My extensive survey of academic freedom found the opposite. Left-wing critics of the Bush administration suffer by far the most numerous and serious violations of liberties. Patriarchy constrained supremely after 9/11, and this is devastating because higher education is a uniquely key institution that provides space for conversations and actions that snowball into culture shifts away from religion. And Drew 07 writes, higher education has been one of the most crucial institutions where Democrat forms of power can be identified and critically engaged with it. This is one of the few places where young people think critically learn values that refuse the obligations of the security state and develop skills necessary to defend democracy. Two impacts 8-point cultural shift. We have to teach students to refuse the myth of militarism, and that creates a culture shift away from the glorification of violence. Chattery and Radio 14 writes, militarism short with notion of patriots in that world. The academy rests on ideology to define the enemy. Pleasing knowledge reveals a battle cry defending the integrity of the nation requires producing a citizen regulating boundary. What is permissible to trust in the university? And militarism is part of the culture, making people disposable, justifying creating everyday violence against the Middle East and other. The app allows students or professors to refuse this violence, to refuse this culture. Chattery Maria 2. The culture contract with the racial aspect of the terrorist and also the Muslim of the Arab. This culture imagery really as well violence against the anti-Western, anti-involved democratic self-governance, the crime criminalization of those considered the threats to national security. The Muslim and the Arabic students are subject to multiple levels of containment and security. This outweighs 8-point root cause. Once violence is normalized, and anything including negative facts that occur, no one will care about, making them possible to solve. B-point aggregation. Militaristic facts occur constantly, which means they aggregate every single day about the time negative facts occur. The actual massive way and scope of magnitude. B-point is political spillover. The academics have used state research to challenge academic freedom to create positive policy change, proving that liberalizing the university creates concrete material impact. Slaughter 88 writes the university curriculum came to include subjects previously treated only in incidental ways. The state-funded university provides a research space for growth of forms of drills, diverse forms of knowledge. Professors gain generating forms of alternate forms of knowledge, and foreign policy professors have worked with a wide variety of external groups to curb the United States intervention policy in Central America, particularly in Nicaragua. They present thought-out policy alternatives. Central America is only a single instance. State-supported professors exchange the emphasis with a wide variety of external groups trying to change prevailing policy. Part 4 is theory. First, all theorists have an implicit affect standard because it's hard to affirm. 8 point is the 7, 4, 6, 3 times 2. B point strategy for the next ability to select your attitude based off the honesty. And C point empirics. Alpha 15 writes, and late either around next week 61%. This means presumption and permissibly full affirmative. Around the time at the end of debating, though there's nothing in the case that triggers presumption. Second, vote alpha when a counter-interpretation. 8 point flexibility. After negative has been a win on either shell, so the alpha needs to win on the same ability. The 2 array is too short to win a new shell and play against the 2 theory argument. So you have these reciprocal layers, something more uncircular avenues. That's not a problem. Long to an RB point is reciprocity. Only negative topic out because only at the aspect has a verb to be topical. Thus, you have to use an RBI to compensate for the next unique X valid 3. Expecting type of speech is good. So let's go to rule that any implies that limitation limitation of the object they're referring to. Von Eitel 11, right? Small v United States change the meaning of any. The majority of the word any considered alone cannot answer. Our speaker says, I'll see any film may or may consider films shown in another country. The word any must be loaded in the application net. And it's 8-point average shift without respect the African shift out of distance outside testing hard. So don't link to the generic principle claiming that something isn't CPS. Skills, for instance, arguments can be shifted. Nick has no chance of winning viewpoint. Resolvability. The benefits of speech codes change depending on what type of speech it is. You can't compare assignments to advantage to a hate speech set because they're about completely different things. Key to fairness, key to shows, just fix the better data, C point, impact, and limits, research overload good, gives the skills of shifting massive data, the information error, but handles 10 rights. It builds your suffering from information overload, see the patterns and interconnections that matter, let's focus on what is important. 5, value debate through comparative worlds. 8-point truth testing kills fairness and opposes absolute would not proof. Nelson 08 writes that truth-based model opposes absolute would not proof, and applicants negative access to range strategies. It's difficult to deny our ability to make true statements or prove them rather than this, whether they're connected to fit functioning infinite worlds and infinite ground computing or interpretation, dynasty, other ability nor comes is relevant to our ability to get the next argument now. Per 5 is a method of the act of deploys a heuristic to scenario planning. Even if policies and psychologists are generally bad scenarios, so policies pedagogically valuable. Barward all 16 scenario, that's the team that's simply seen as serving policies. It's not limited to this. Just suppose that current trends is present of plausible alternative worlds. So future scenario analysis useful. The ability to decision making matches to treat existence of the cognitive biases. Scenarios help individuals break down the fictional thinking, but envision it thereby not zipping something given for the present.
Okay. Ready?
Yeah. Everyone got what I didn't read, or do you want me to send out new doc? You got it.
Oh wait, what'd you not read?
So I cut the Barnum card at present.
Where's
I'll just sorry. Can somebody just hit start?
Oh yeah, I got you.
Thanks.
So you read truth testing, like truth testing?
Yeah, I read to the Nelson card. But
Okay.
didn't read it.
So, you ready?
Yep.
What is ideal theory?
Ideal theory is a starting point. It literally is at the top of the case. It
Yes.
demands justice in a perfect world. So anything that's like abstraction, it's like,
Okay,
well, we focus
so
on
the
these
F is
universal
consequentialist,
theories.
correct?
Yes.
And you use utilitarian calculus then?
Not no.
So then, what, like, can you clarify?
It like
that?
minimizes
What is the
suppression,
distinction?
right? So the
What is the distinction? Like, why?
so
is there-
util is
is
just
there a
like
difference?
let's like focus on like everyone's happiness, but and focus on everyone.
What's the difference between like
oppression
oppression, like ensuring happiness?
I mean, that would be an internal link to happiness, but happiness is not the only thing that's relevant underneath the standard, and it's not in like the happiness of like white people, like being racist is like not relevant underneath the standard.
Okay, let's talk about the plan text. What graph do I have of your plan text?
So there's like a ton of things you can read. You can read impact turns, hedge good. You can read about
I mean, besides impact turns, like impact turns are pretty
you can
generic.
read
Tell me about
protest
like,
disads. You can read agent counterplans. You can read disads that are about like Title IX. You can read like so many strategies.
How does Title IX link under this? It seems to be that a necessary argument you'll make in the 1AR is, for example, that the link is significantly mitigated by the fact that you have a plan text that only does a specific, that only prevents restrictions of a specific type of speech.
Look, you can look at the underview for all the reasons why spec is good. I just listed like a bunch
That's
of
not a
strategies.
reason why
even if
spec is
Title
good.
IX, even if
Question
Title
is
IX
why.
is not, you don't have Title IX ground. You still have all those other strategies.
For example, like Asian counterplans and impact.
You also have like CAP case, state bad case. Like there's like all the cases.
Maybe one link term that I can make under the app.
Okay, so you can do that, like people reject speech, polarization theory. You can read terms about how like hedge good is impact.
Okay, let's talk about truth testing. What does it mean to evaluate through comparative worlds? Does this mean I have to propose a counter mechanism like a counter advocacy?
You need to prove that at different advocacies better.
Is it
that can be the score.
Okay.
Right? It's just like things like SCAP, nibs, etc. Like probably wouldn't like.
Okay. This first argument in part 4, all theory arguments have an implicit app standard. Besides meaning that presumption and permissibility flow app, is there any other impact to this?
So the impact is exactly what the tagline says. If there's an app
Just means it's harder to,
so it essentially means like you err app on like 1 and C theory.
When do we err app?
When you read 1 and C theory.
Like, yeah, but in what situation would you err app?
When you read that theory chapter, right?
So does it mean like if you read counter-truth, you automatically win? Or
No. Just like a standard, like there's an implicit app-flex standard, right? It's not like I auto-win.
So like
right?
any sort of theory interp that I read, you'll just leverage this against it.
You have to weigh against the app-flex, right? Yes.
Okay, so was that explicit in the AC?
Yes, it literally says all arguments have an implicit app-flex.
Yeah, where does it say you have to weigh against that?
And you don't have to. You just
Alright, so let's talk
like
about
you have to see the standard.
Let's talk about the offense then. It seems to be that the only solvency you have is just this Wilson 15 card, and then everything else is just impacts under that, right?
That's the inherency.
Okay, so where's the solvency? That specifically says that not restricting speech in certain areas is actually factor.
That's the inherency, and then there's also advocacy
but
that
right,
change
where's
away from that. And then the rest of the impacts proof, that would be a good thing. The China Review 14 evidence is solvency,
Okay.
and so is the
Alright.
Slaughter 88 evidence.
Name one school where the plan has happened, or where people get fired because they criticize.
Wilson 15 gives you like 20 examples.
Okay, give me one school of an example, like as an example.
Sure, let me go through part. I didn't memorize every single school. Chicago's Xavier St.
That's private
Chicago's
school, go
St. Xavier University.
Yeah, that's private school.
You have to read evidence, but that's the case.
Well, I just looked at
UCLA.
one Google for
UCLA.
So one example, one library assistant.
Air Force.
That's not, that was part of it. Okay, so you have
Civil
two, okay, so this evidence has two examples of schools, and one of them is a library assistant from UCLA. Why?
That's like one example, that's
They
sufficient.
also, weren't, that the library assistant from UCLA also wasn't fired, they were suspended and without pay for 1 week.
Yeah, that's like probably bad, right? Our argument is that creates
It also says that he was
and then
repaid.
also
It says after that he was repaid for his lost income. So why doesn't that? Why? So this small incident is sufficient for you to base
right,
your
you're picking out specific examples, but you're missing the bottom part. Is that these are just examples, right? The Wilson Evidence Institute did an academic survey of multiple colleges and found that this was a present problem, like a huge problem, and that's just
It says
that's
range
a
supreme after like I just okay.
No,
Whatever.
no, it literally says like my extensive survey of academic freedom. I just listed some examples to be like persuasive and ethos, but those are not the only empirical examples, right?
So like this animal. Okay, whatever. It's fine. It's fine. Which comes first, role of valid or theory?
There isn't a theory argument made, but I'd say theory. But obviously it depends on the nature of the theory argument.
You said 2 in the case?
Yeah, true option case.
Can I use your scan?
Yeah.
Alright, let me know when everyone's ready.
How many on?
2 off.
Ready.
Okay.
1 second. Alright, I'm good.
CB checks results. Public colleges and universities in the United States all now respect constitutional protected speech that criticizes the military's policies except for wartime speech that poses a threat to the national interest. Definitely to be the which is a pig, which we said using the accent for specific type of speech. We said no current or specific speech might represent literally that you do the entirety that you said that specific type, which means that even if you try to for example that you do the after and that's incoherent because that means you would be restricting all types of speech that are criticizing the military's policies, but then you would just be doing you're allowing a specific type of later, which is obviously incoherent now. The first said it's net better under will allow peace. It means that more people can actually more people, especially under war, especially when the U.S. is at war, means that they can actually live in the country. Because we need to be able to protect national interests prior to, for example, ensuring whether just like for example people are criticizing the military's policies. Because if people are criticizing the military's policies during wartime, then people are less likely to believe in exactly what the U.S. is doing, which means that they're more likely to, for example, not actually believe in it, not for example like go to the draft or something, which means that the U.S. is like more likely to lose a war, and which means that more lives will be lost, and which means that more oppression will occur, which is then worse. The second argument is that it's still net better for the autonomy of individuals, because that means that even after wartime, that means that they have the ability to pursue their own ends and still be able to criticize the military's policies. Whereas after, that means if the U.S. loses, for example, that means if it loses the war, for example, and because people do not believe, because people are allowed to say whatever they want on public colleges and universities campus, that means that there would be no ability to protect their national interests. Now next up. Fusion tells that colleges ignore DOJ dictates and ignore and it risks huge losses of funding to in 16. These are requiring universities to investigate on one sexual conduct to determine whether harassment sufficiently cause limitations of education. The DOJ has put colleges in an impossible position, forcing them to choose between violating the Constitution or losing federal funding, asking the student now to turn to harassment because speech has to be only unwelcome. Losses of funding kills quality of education to turns case military law 16. Cuts of funding have harmed educational experiences, made colleges less accessible. Funding for public colleges is nearly $10 billion below what it was prior to the recession. Increases in federal student aid and tax rates have kept up. Annual tuition has risen by 33%. Public colleges and universities have cut faculty positions, eliminated course offerings, closed campuses, and reduced student services. Sufficient investment would help states develop the workforce they needed. This also directly turns the act. The 8.7 means the loss of quality of education means that people are unable to actually criticize the military in a positive way. Because they will just be saying empty things that have no real impact. The 8.7 we need people to be able to actually be educated prior to be able to criticize. Obviously, the CV is a prior question because especially during wartime, people need to be able to cannot say whatever they want because the national interest trumps whatever they want to say individually. But when it's not wartime, that means that this would still be a reason why you should vote. Now go to the F. On part 2, off Wilson first turn. It's necessarily better. The United States is necessarily better, so that way that people will actually backlash as a result of professors being fired. Because that means that if a professor, for example, if favorite professors are being fired, that means that obviously they will be more inclined to not believe in exactly what the military is saying, as opposed to just, for example, what is happening right now, which is simply just saying that you don't allow this type of speech at all, because obviously not allowing speech at all still means that it can occur in other areas of campus, for example, and even if it's like not public, it means that people can still congregate in groups and still say, which also means that this is another turn here. Case the second is that you don't solve for speech that's outside of campus. For example, even your own evidence talks about why there's people who criticize the military on private colleges. One of the examples in your Wilson 15 card evidence in your Wilson 15 card was a private college. I just looked it up on Wikipedia, which means that obviously there are other like criticism of the military is occurring in other areas, which means that you cannot hinder that, which means that those types of problems will still occur. Therefore, your evidence is still terrible. The specific examples are the only specific examples you actually provided from 2 schools. One is a private one, the other one is a public one. And the public one from UCLA is literally talking about one library assistant in which he got docked pay for 1 week, but then later got paid back, which means that obviously there's no impact. And the entirety of the gap is based on some sort of mandatory link. Now the key point is that you said that the analytics at the bottom of the Wilson-Pachin card are relevant, but the problem is that if you actually read the card there, it's actually really bad, because it just says that left-wing critics of the Bush administration suffered by far more as a result of 9/11. But the first it doesn't necessarily indicate that these patterns have occurred until today. Second, obviously the Bush administration is not in today. Do not compare between, for example, the Bush administration and the Trump administration, which you said obviously those are incoherent and definitely do not prove that one is worse than the other. Even if you could have made this argument, your burden is to do so in the AC, which obviously you do not. Third point is that all the entirety of your F, i.e. your impacts, have literally no solvency, because there's just no real solvency. You say that you label the Wilson-Pachin evidence in cross-examination as inherency, but the problem is that none of your arguments, for example, a point about culture shift and the point about political spillover, directly say that free speech on political campuses and being able to ensure that people are allowed to, for example, criticize the military will actually have a real effect. The arguments you have under the culture shift say that militarism is important. Just for example, read the cards. Just as militarism has a short notion of patriotism, but it never actually says one word about free speech and exactly the impact of it on specific public colleges and universities, which is your burden to prove. You cannot just say that, for example, that militarism is important to just talk about now. The fourth point is that turn only making the app only makes policies more militaristic, since the anti-war view will just seem like liberal college, will just seem like some sort of liberal college movement that a lot of people are inclined to believe. Fine, many liberal college movements are correct, but the problem is that the vast majority of the American electorate and the populace do not believe in that, because they believe that, for example, millennials are just are insane, or just have wrong, or just thinking the wrong way, which obviously means that the app has no solvency. Now, the fifth point is that turn is removing free speech restrictions means more violence against minorities, Delgado and Young. Psychological evidence suggests that permitting one person to say hateful things is a chance that they will do so in the future. We can start categories for black women, criminals, and so on. The government way we speak towards members of those communities. Yale showed that members of the university community who rather the conscious opinions already figured out whether to do so, suggesting that once you perform a category to deserve victim behavior may escalate to bullying and physical violence. Obviously, 8.7 means that when people, for example, say things, they initially construct a category of, for example, that people deserve a certain category of, for example, the card says deserved victim, which obviously means that their inherent psychological state will be just reinforced as a result of the affirmative. The key point is that I specifically have empirical evidence on a real college campus, which directly talks about why the university community isn't worse. And now, the impact of this card is very clear that the view of that minorities talk about against the is grossly optimistic and Delgado and Young too. Those who curl racial opposites do so because they feel empowered. The principal objective is to reassert the power talking back is perceived as a direct challenge to that power. Many cases of racial homicide begin in this fashion. Black person talking back and paid with their life, which also means that the regulations, sixth, turn. Claiming to serve the oppressed and feigning optimism, which ignores the underlying motives of academic neoliberalism, their expenditure of more class and more inclusive educational spaces, just another means for profit, outweighs their effects because it's specific to public colleges, slaughters UK. Public colleges are exemplars of neoliberalism, higher education assigns market social value, population is displaced by the economic role of serving corporations, global competitiveness, and they see students as revenue, so some product students involved in materials, products purchased by corporate employees, right? Adopting market model universities, promote restructuring that services monopoly capitalism. Okay, so read everything except.
Is this the last card that you read?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry,
the tag is there, just a little bit smaller than I copied it. Sorry. That's good. Everyone ready? Cool. Let's start with the Delgado and Young evidence on the case. How does it that?
The argument is that when you try to remove free speech restrictions, i.e., like, for example, allow people to, for example, criticize the military, it means more violence against minorities because it means
Why? This evidence is about hate speech. That's not what the after defense. How's this relevant?
No, it's just saying that, like, for example, allowing people to say things, for example, even criticizing the military could count as, like, for example, hate speech. It just means that saying things that are, for example, I guess vitriolic to a certain degree, have negative impacts on people.
How is the app vitriolic?
Criticizing certain, like, for example, criticizing the military's policies could turn out to be vitriolic. For example,
give me an example.
Okay, so I could just read your evidence. Your Wilson-Pachin evidence suggests that I am furious. Okay, so like this.
So saying that you're mad at people for committing drone strikes against innocent people is vitriolic.
It says, and you're killing it's a cadet who literally never did anything. It just said a cadet who asked the professor to promote an Air Force event, and it says, I would support you in your killing tactics of collateral damage. It's like it's a cadet who has literally done nothing.
All right, that's fine. Let's go into the Title IX. Does this also seems to be about hate speech? What is this relevant?
It just means that unwanted sexual conduct related
How is
to...
the app unwanted sexual harassment?
No, it just means that, for example, allowing any type of free speech would link to the dissent.
How? The counterpoint allows some free speech, how does it not link?
Well, you can make that argument, but also the dissent specifically. Actually, yeah, you can make that argument for the dissent.
Alright, what's the status of the counterpoint?
Dispositional.
Oh, what's the status?
If you put defense on it, I don't have to go for it.
Alright, that's fine. Like, so I have to do back turn, like I can't put like no links, or it's just like permutations?
If you permit, you can, I still have to go for
Okay.
it. Or if you turn it, I still have to go for it. But if you put defense, don't have to go for it.
Alright, that's fine. That's fine. Let's go into the last card you read about neoliberalism. So there's just this like university that are neoliberal. How does the counterplan resolve this?
Or, sorry,
So your argument says that universities are neoliberal. How does the counterplan resolve this?
It doesn't.
Okay, so how does it impact CSB 90?
Okay, yeah, I should just get rid of that card then.
Alright, cool. Let's go on to the fourth and fifth response. You say people will backlash because they think it'll be a liberal movement. What's the impact to this?
It means that the app won't be effective because that means that people are less likely to believe in it. And also, because I said that when I initially said the turn, I was saying that it only makes policies more militaristic since the anti-war view will seem like some liberal, like it just seems like another liberal college movement that people won't be inclined to believe, which means that people will just be reinforced in their views.
Alright, that's fine. 5 minutes.
peace, solvency, results, material violence is a good idea. The thesis one sees that allowing anti-military discourse shifts away from a culture that glorifies military and leads to everyday violence against minority groups. That's Rio 1 and 2 pieces of evidence, which means we do have solvency as long as we have a risk of inherency, which obviously do, because human error means there's always risk. Now, the defense responses, they say the counterplay is better because it resolves it, because it can't resolve on campus. First, it's not a turn. Second side, they can still, the people don't want to discuss off campus. It's like a very academic topic discussing about militaries, and people are not going to discuss this for fun, which means they need to have an academic talk. They say, we don't solve outside of the campus. This is not, they don't resolve either, and it's still a massive impact, because we still say millions of mindsets to change millions of mindsets of the students who are going to college campus. They say, my specific examples are bad, because there's just a couple examples. First, that the analytics at the bottom is analytics at the bottom proof. He did an empirical analysis, found that those are just a couple examples. He did an empirical analysis, found that there's a lot of other colleges like this. Second, the risk of offensive inherency just means the app is small, but it means that still access my impacts, but it's also not unique since it means the diss are small as well. They say analytics the analysts at the bottom are relevant because it proves that we're not in the Bush era anymore, but my evidence proves that it will reoccur in the future, which means that when there's another president, i.e. like Trump, who is definitely the same thing and advocates the same sort of militarism. Now they say I have no solvency, but no, the chapter 1 and 2 evidence are definitely solvency. They say that specifically on college campuses, having this discussion shifts away from the mindset of militarism, which is a good idea. I've carded evidence on the topic. Now on the next part, and I proved the fourth and fifth ones are just about how the people are viewed as liberal and insane. But first, we solve for students, which is still a terminal. In fact, it's not unique. People are the rest of the community is already militaristic, which means as long as you can shift for a good amount of students, that's still a good idea. Second, there's no backlash, not protest, just academic learning, which means no one else knows about this is happening, which means result the impact now the God on viewed evidence. First, there's no link to the what you see that we're not. This is about hate speech, which obviously after the fact just criticize the military, which is about the military's policy, which means it's not militaristic. And even if there is a link, the link is so small, the case definitely outweighs, which is conceded arguments out of the case. Now they concede the slaughter evidence is not unique, which doesn't matter. Now the solvency debate, which is the chapter 1 and 2 evidence, which are extended, they concede the weighing underneath it, which is the root cause framing, which means that the reason why violence occurs, i.e. the dishad and the counterclaim is because of militarism, which means if we resolve that impact, then we resolve the internal link way. It's like conceded that our impact outweighs every single day, while the impacts are break-based, which means that our impacts outweigh an actual conceded argument, which means that you have to don't allow any neutral in our way when this argument is just dropped in the last speech. Now, the dishad. First, there's no link to this argument. It's about hate speech, call for the card, African Brown. It's about sexual harassment, off the after defense. It's just about criticizing military. Probably should have read T if you're just going to read a bunch of arguments that didn't link. Second, the counterclaim obviously links in as well, since you say that any defending free speech, but you say that you defend most instances of free speech in those instances. 3 Title IX not enforced, and when it's handled internally after 4 decades. No university had ever lost federal funding. Thomas said, love the rights. Scores of universities fell by that. There's a little chance to short himself from investigate, punish the office of civil courts, allow cases to drag on fears and ask the schools to investigate any schools filing town on risk of losing federal funds, but the punishment never acts since Congress passed a law in 1972, which means the risk of the dishad is functionally 0%. Now the counterclaim, the net benefit. Kind of said that it stops the U.S. from winning wars, but there's literally no impact evidence where the U.S. needs to win wars, and why that's important. That the entire of the one you see is an impact turn to this, because it said that our involvement in wars is a bad idea, where we use drones like this innocent to militarize people, and we view people as disposable. Why the trigger the impacts of China evidence talks about. Second, said even if you do have a little bit of assault, the case outweighs those of the job arguments that I'm crossing line here. They say it leads to autonomous assault. People pursue their own ends, but there's no impact. This argument it definitely makes sense because we allow more people to pursue their own ends pursue their own ends. Now, next off, interpretation. If the negative reads a pick, then they must have a solvency having violation. They literally just made up their counterclaim. They have no evidence to say that the counterclaim is a good idea. Because a couple of benefits of interpretation. 8.8 of the benefit of interpretation, they can just make up counterclaims. Which 8.8 means it's unpredictable. There's no way I can engage with the arguments. 8.8 means their evidence is now real world, which means there's no possibility of engagement. T, voter fairness, so voters, balance, debate, debaters, can't do it for the wrong side fair. Drop the debater first time survey, time if only drop the argument, then when the positive time traffic will be rewarded for a few seconds. It turns out you should deter them from being abusive by voting them down. Now, no argument now. You're just going to be like giving interpretation, specific, expression, reasonable, arbitrary, and to judge around. You said it relevant, arbitrary, allowing them to always say it relevant, so they're going to be abused. Now, no RBIs versus RBIs when child front theory for chick abuse, and some women shade theory against abuse case. My opponent has a chance to win on it, especially because they have a long short arm, which means they can just dump on it and brute force their own norm, which means justifies infinite random abuse. So the second is that the theory is not an if you could have gone for 1 and 2 theory, win against argument, or you can go for 2 in our theory, which means that solve back 100% of your offense, solve back 100% of your offense, which means that theory is not native, giving you another way. I would make theory, I would make the RBI native, which would be uniquely unreciprocal.
the function of the Thomas Levin card?
Produces no impact to this side.
Okay. Okay. The order's overview is shell, and then the counter plan, and then the
Where do you want me to flow the overview?
yeah.
Where do you want me to flow it?
Just on it. You can flow it anywhere, like a separate sheet of paper if that's possible.
Oh, so is the overview like
Oh no, there's just like there's just
like where should the overview best be flowed? Do I need a separate sheet just to flow it?
you can just flow it on the app actually if you want.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Everyone ready?
Yep.
Already counterinterpretation of action interpreters go for the argument just as the times like but the main arguments I'll be going for are on the app specifically the first and the third turns which are obviously not sorry the first and fourth turns which are incredibly badly responded to and at that point that we said that CP is irrelevant piece I'll just make a bunch of arguments for why there's an impact to CP or why his arguments count as defense which means that should be sufficient specifically on his interpretation counterinterpretation if I read a pick then I don't have to have a solved sample the reason is first creativity which is semi-definitional because you just think of arguments on the fly these for example if I encounter apps like yours that are obviously people might that obviously not a lot of people are reading or at least are literally scope the topic is so little it's a little part of the topic that means it's possible for me to actually think of a response beforehand or at least like have a ton of prep beforehand which obviously means that you don't have some sort of leverage against the app because obviously you had a bunch of preamps in your underview and your part for about theory for why spending a specific type of speech is good which obviously means you probably knew that specifically strategically it was better to read in terms of substance language just read a type of app that would only have it that would only not restrict to a specific type of speech would obviously mean that you need to be able to think of arguments on the fly. Also, I always your link back to active statement when we say creativity is essentially back to and internally back to all your impacts. The only way we can even think of arguments, for example, predictability in real world is when we have the ability to even think of them on the fly in the first place. Now the B point that means that directly proves uniqueness because my argument is that literally when you make any sort of, for example, theory when you make any arguments that when you're accepting these sort of arguments in the first place, you're necessarily just thinking arguments on the fly. You don't need necessarily solve the act, which means that this is the purpose of debate. You don't need this is the purpose of debate, not specifically on interpretation. You say on predictability, but first is and more speaks that means that because your app was literally such a part of a small part of the resolution it was impossible to debate. Second is that disclosure definitely does not solve because just because it was disclosed does not necessarily mean I knew to check your wiki like for example days in advance, and nor did I know that specifically you would be reading this app specifically. I asked before round one I was like, oh, what app are you going to read? But you were like, it's probably this app on the wiki, but still it's not sufficient, which means I don't let them go for disclosure solves arguments. You say it's not real world, but first, yes, it's real world because when policies think of policies, they think of it all by themselves and then have other people corroborate and agree with them. But obviously, we cannot do so. Which means that function, for example, pretend that I'm the policymaker and initially thinks of a plan, initially thinks of some sort of alternate policy to do, which means that obviously that is definitely real world. But second is that having a solvency advocate and having people to back you up every single time you do something, it's not obviously not real world. For example, when people think of engineering and when people try to think of like different ways of doing things, they obviously think of it by themselves. They don't need validation from other people. Rather, they think of them themselves and then get other people to approve of their plans, which is obviously how, for example, Congress and how policymakers work, which is your arguments are relevant. Also, he doesn't read an impact, he doesn't read an internal link from predictable back and fairness, which means that none of his arguments are relevant, which means there's a function of impact. Also, you can say, which also means that you would just put on the counter church of my his initial interpretation. Now he says no RBIs, but all the first argument he says infinite abuse. But first, his argument is ridiculous because it means that you can just read a triply true interpretation. It means I have to go for every single time, which means it's possible for me to actually go for a second set turn more arguments from a discussion about whether arguments are good for debate. It means they're even more relevant. I mean, now you're also second argument say theory is not a nit because that means that reading an RBI, for example, will make it a nit because that means you have to go for it. But first, it's a question of, for example, strength link is worse in your case because if you read, if you say no RBIs, it means it has to go for no matter what. Whereas if there are RBIs, then it's just a simple question of whoever wins the interpretation or the counter interpretation. But the second argument for why I get the RBI, but that gives some more reason why I get the RBI
emphasis the reciprocity micro can win on either sub theory, substance modeling, when you fit theory, then when substance when forcing you to do twice as much work to win savings that nor there we ever concern or fairness the fairness and then we can establish the fairness interpretation which allows voting for counterintuitive if it's wanted to send for the best interpret the long run understanding of the fairness and fairness we need the ability to the theory in which have impact on the remember just vote in the RPI first even if you use the single losing its argument the counterplan is go to the counterplan. Extended second argument that the counterplan links back to the fact he read an argument in that said that the data set has no impact, which means it's a CP links right now. This means there's no impact to this argument at all. So I'll concede this argument, but which means that even if the CP has a problem, it doesn't matter. Now, if your third argument, you say there's no impact, you say there's no impact to why the U.S. needs to be able to run wars that the AC is an impact turn, but your first argument said there's no impact to why the U.S. needs to run wars, which means that if there's no impact to why the U.S. needs to run wars, that means that your impact turn doesn't matter, which means that this is functioning because defense. You also said no impact to autonomy, which means that this is also given because it means that literally the acts are we can use the TV relevant at that point. I'll just be going through a couple of the terms that I made on the app. A big picture here is that he just extends, for example, the thesis of the author is that the discourse has to shift away, and he talks about risk involvement. So the first is that as long as you win a risk of a turn, that means that your risk involvement arguments are relevant. But second is that you just be saying discourse in the abstract is irrelevant. He has to actually win that. He has to actually fully be back the terminal definition of the terms that will be going through, which obviously he doesn't go for. Now he says that there is weighing underneath when it was strategy cards. But the problem is that literally they don't have their weighing is insufficient and not. He never compares it back into the terms that we read. But you just because you read weighing in the app and just said militarism is like something that's happening now. Does that mean you can just get rid of a bunch of terms by just extending that weighing to it? Except the first one that read is that the negative is really better, so that way people will backlash as a result of the progressives being fired. He says it's not a term because there's no word saying it's definitely a term because it means that the negative will be better. Because if people are not allowed to criticize their military policies, like for example the military policies, and for example professors are fined or get in trouble as a result of that, and that means that people will stand up for them, or at least people will realize this is a bad thing. Obviously, like just simply banning this type of speech is obviously not going to be effective. Then you say people will discuss it in a formal setting, but obviously first there's no word saying that indicate that, for example, people will discuss it in, for example, groups by themselves, which is obviously more likely.
Cool. 217.
Are you guys on the RFD?
No.
No, sorry.
problem with the 2 and R is a lack of weighing. There's literally no weighing done, so as long as the 2 does a little bit of weighing, then you have no choice but to vote for it. Now, the extension of the solvency evidence to chapter 14 and 2 evidence indicates that the app is a good idea and it allows professors and people to discuss these topics in the first place. Discuss the topics in the first place, which creates a cultural shift of militarism, which is the only impact going for in both debates, and for both sides going for. This evidence outweighs that all their offense, which is the only trend they go for, which is their protest argument. This outweighs everybody's probability. It's literally carded evidence about what is happening. All this, what his evidence is just like random assertion about what he necessarily thinks, but obviously he's less educated on this topic than these professors who are writing about the topic, who are literally writing an academic paper. Viewpoint, it controls internally to their solvency. Professors talking about it in the first place is the only way to make sure that to educate students so they become anti-militarism. If they do not become anti-militarism because of the app solvency, then they're not going to be protesting because they're not going to care, and they're not going to. They might think that would be a good thing that goes fired because they've been hardwired to think that the military is good, so people should be fired. So we need the app to shift the mindset before we can access their term solvency C-point scale. Professors are more effective at teaching anti-military speech, which they are currently being censored on. Then there are evidence which is about the context of students protesting in response. Those protests are ineffective unless we have a good leader who can guide them, make sure that there's the response to militarism better. If you think any of these weighing arguments are even semi-plausible, we have no choice but to because there's no weighing done in the 2 and R. Now the line of their arguments just go for just a couple extensions arguments. They just go for the arguments that the backlash against the people being fired would be a good thing. But first, extending the argument that this is not a turn because it already the argument that the warrant is that it already presumes that they know about that militarism is bad and then will protest in response, which means that your turn relies on mine. The second one I'm going for is also that they don't want to discuss it on campus, which means that individual students don't know about militarism. They don't want to talk about militarism unless it's in an academic setting. I think professors, it's a very complex topic, and they need a professor to guide them, which is the scale weighing. They've done no weighing here, so you have no choice but affirmative. And I have carded evidence on the topic. Don't look me in the eye and vote negative on this question. And win the case. So just going for analytics. And now the RVI debate, 2 framing the issue in the RVI debate. First, he literally claims this is a time suck, which means you should not vote on it. Second is that there's also no weighing done here. The theory, of course, weighing outweighs 8 point justifies an infinite amount of use because if the theory isn't checked and abuse, then debaters can go for abuse of strategies in every single round. Viewpoint, it controls internally to all their offenses. The question is you can fairly round this offense first, so I'm also going to impact on their offense. Now go for the check and abuse argument that in the world where there's no RVI, debaters will always just load up on the counter interpretation and just win on the they'll keep doing this whenever actually read interpretations response to them because they'll be afraid of losing on the interpretation. They say I can read frivolous interpretation. This is not a turn, and there's no offense. So this is not read a reason why frivolous theory is bad. My argument is I'm going to deal with check and abuse, not that frivolous theory would be wrong. They say there's more discussion of RVIs. So this is the same problem here. My argument is about checking abuse, not about if there's more theory discussions. In fact, my interpretation said there should be theory discussions in the world of my interpretation. Now the counter interpretation, now the benefits said they say reciprocity about my argument. Impact turns argument says that they can go for 1 as a theory, 2 and a theory, or go for impact turns like fairness for who arguments, which means it already is reciprocal, giving them another way out. Because it's unreciprocal because they gives them more strategic variability. I then go for link turns, impact turns, or the RVI, which means that it takes back the argument why it's counter interpretation 1-1 takes that argument. They say normally there's no one in this room now. Debaters are clearly don't listen to norms because debaters go for RVIs good, RVIs bad, which means it's not relevant.
Good round.